Welcome everybody to the Wits End Poetry, Carolina Poets Facebook pages and YouTube channel. We are kind of doing a little bit of a special event here tonight. We are just doing an information session in partnership with the South Carolina Arts Commission because we are so excited about the new 2022 spoken word fellowship for the state of South Carolina, which is brand new. And so we're kind of going to celebrate that tonight and also give potential poets across the state of South Carolina some additional information about who qualifies and who can apply and all that great stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce, we are very excited to have C. Scott Fitz, who's the Director of Artist Services from the South Carolina Arts Commission with us today. Welcome, C.
Hi. It's so great to be here.
Well, we are so excited. Tell us again, what is the official title of this new fellowship?
Spoken word slam poetry.
Awesome.
And it's a category, and so there will be one fellowship awarded in either slam poetry or spoken word.
Awesome. And this is kind of like the other fellowships where they kind of rotate through. So for example, next year for 23, there'll be a different set of, it might be fiction. It'll be something different than we have this year.
Yes. And so actually this is fiscal year 23. It's not 22.
Okay. 23. Got it.
Yes, because the grants, we are on a fiscal calendar rather than so the fiscal year begins July 1st of each year, and it ends June 30th of the following year. So
got you.
The applications are going to be accepted this year. They will be reviewed spring of 2022, and then the grant period is from July 2022, which is fiscal year 2023.
Kind of like the academic year. So it'll be kind of like academic year 22-23, basically.
Yes.
Awesome. That's the kind of stuff. It always takes me a few minutes to get my head around. I'm always like, wait, what fiscal year are we in? So we're applying now before November 15th, but the actual fellowship will happen in the academic year 22-23, basically.
Yeah, it's awarded July 1st of 2022. Yes. Correct.
Awesome. Well, so what was the reason for expanding the categories? We've never had a spoken word category before.
One of the things that has been really important to me since I started 2 years ago, a little bit over 2 years ago, was revamping the fellowship program. And South Carolina is not unusual in this area, but when you look nationally in terms of support, fellowships, grants, the disciplines and the categories have not changed. Probably in 50, 60. A lot of them have changed in years. Meanwhile, artistic disciplines and practices and the way artists work with each other, interdisciplinary work, multidisciplinary work, that has changed and evolved, but the categories have not.
Absolutely.
So that's part of the reason why we
it's so interesting that you say that too, because when you think Poetry Slam was just invented in 1986, I mean that seems like a long time ago, but really it's kind of a new art form.
I think it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
19.
Yeah, right.
1980. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Absolutely. Well, we're really excited that you guys were able to add this category because there are so many phenomenal spoken word and slam poets in South Carolina. So I think this is just going to shine such a great light on the work that they're doing. So I'm excited.
Yes. And part of that too, I will say, I just want to add, it's important that we have categories that reflect the growth of what's going on here in South Carolina. And outside of South Carolina, when I talk to other artists and program directors, when I talk to them about spoken word, everyone except
Oh, I just lost you for 1 second.
sorry,
There we go.
everyone except people here in South Carolina know how big a deal spoken word is.
So true. So true. And what's interesting is and a lot of people outside of South Carolina know what a big deal spoken word is in South Carolina, because we have so many poets that tour and are so renowned from South Carolina. And we've had so many great events, and people in the rest of the country are aware of this great stuff going on, but not necessarily everyone in South Carolina itself is aware of the great spoken word that is happening in their own state. So this is just going to be such a fabulous way to shine a light on this whole spoken word community that we have in this state that's so strong. Another question I had is, why do you think this fellowship is important? Like, why now as opposed to 5 or 10 years ago, do you think?
I think it's important now because of the way art forms have changed, and art forms that have a lot of impact.
Mm.
And if you separate, if you think about music with lyrics, like there's a power in words that is reflected in prose, in poetry, in music. And this is just an amplification of that. This particular category is an amplification of the power of the word.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. That's definitely something that's so important to me, because we've definitely seen the power of the world across the state and the way it's changed people's lives and inspires people. So we're so excited. Can you speak just a little bit of what is the difference, do you think, between there is a poetry category that has happened previously as part of the fellowships. What is really the difference between that person that applied as a poet and the people that might be applying as a spoken word / slam poet?
I just happened to think of something else I wanted to say about this.
Absolutely.
The other reason why this is important right now is because of the pandemic.
Mm.
Because there are artists, including spoken word and slam poetry artists, slam poets, sorry, that have had their income streams have been crushed because of the pandemic.
Absolutely.
And so part of the importance of fellowships is not only recognition for excellence and for your commitment to your craft, but also financial support.
Mm.
Plus, all of the great artists that are here, we want you to stay here. We don't want you going somewhere else because you have no support, you have no family, you have no, and when I say family, I'm talking about from an artistic sense.
Right.
But we don't want you going away because you feel like you're not valued.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that's really exciting is that in the past, these fellowships were only $5,000. But this year, they're going to be a lot more, aren't they?
$8,500.
That's so exciting. I mean, that is amazing to get that up to $8,500. So that is just so exciting. And hopefully that'll really encourage people to take the time to apply. And speaking of which, who should be applying for this fellowship in spoken word / poetry slam?
Okay, I have thrown us all off our game because you asked me.
Yes, we probably need to go back to
and then
spoken word versus poetry.
Yeah, and so one of the things for me when I think about poetry, when a lot of people may think of poetry, it's meant to be read. You can recite it, but it really is designed to be read. Now we've graduated, or we have morphed to where you can find poetry that is projected, poetry that
Mm,
is on a billboard or painted on a building. But with spoken word, and I'll just focus on that for a moment, slam poetry too. It's there's a performance aspect to that, a theatrical aspect
yes.
in the way it's delivered, and
Hmm.
the motion, the movement and all of that. That's part of that, and you don't get that with poetry.
Right, right. The choreography. I mean, someone who's doing actual spoken word, it
Yes.
has choreographed movements, and whether they're doing that poem in Chicago or in Charleston, they're going to use a lot of those same choreographed movements because it's part of the way that they perform that spoken word piece. So I think that is, a really important difference is that it is about not just what you say, but how you deliver those words.
It's delivery. It's it's not it's not what you're bringing. It's how you bring it. It's like the package. It's not just the
Yeah,
gift. It's like, how is it wrapped? How is it presented? Things
right.
like that. Yeah.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. And I guess that kind of segues into this, and who is eligible to apply as a spoken word poet slash slam poet?
So you have to have been a resident of South Carolina for 2 years prior to when you apply. You can't be a student at the time of the grant period or during the time
Okay.
of the grant period. Um, and I think that probably is going to cover it.
Right, right. And so also too, people are going to be submitting their supporting materials. And if you would just want to mention, I know that they have to submit 6 videos. So what should they be thinking about when they're picking out those videos that they want to submit to the Arts Commission?
Well, you want to submit. I'm sorry for the sirens in the
It's okay.
background. Hang on a second. We live next to a hospital. Okay. Um, so you want to only submit your best work, is what I am constantly saying to uh, applicants. If it's if it's something that you have created, that you've participated in, if you have a link and you're like, it's not really my best. If it's a once you go, don't even just stop.
Right, right.
So submit your best work unless you are or have someone who is professionally taking a video of your performance. Don't try to do this. Is not the time to do it yourself. Anything.
Right. These should be videos. If you're a professional poet, a professional spoken word artist, you probably already have videos up on Button Poetry,
Yeah.
on the WAN Poetry, up on Carolina Poets. You've performed places that have recorded you. So that stuff should be kind of already out there in the world. It's not like, let me get in my living room and perform 6 poems and film that.
Yes, no, definitely not. And button poetry is, yeah, that's one of my favorite. Yes, so that would be great. Or anything, comparable.
Right, right, right. And I think there's stuff up like on Southern Fried Poetry Slam, National Poetry Slam. And then, of course, there's a lot of people that perform at festivals. And a lot of those festival performances are, up on the festival websites as well.
Yeah. Check,
So,
check the audio, check the image to make sure that it doesn't look like you're being filmed through a veil or
right,
Vaseline.
right.
And so clear audio, clear picture, clear image, I should say.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then I know some poets even have what I would call quality, almost like music video versions of their spoken word performances. So could they submit that if they've had a professional? I mean, 4 or 5 poets come to mind that I know have worked with a professional videographer and have, brought through images and their performance, almost like a music video, but it is their poetry. So could
Yes,
they
I think
submit that too?
that is absolutely that's fantastic. Yes.
Great, great,
Mhm.
great, awesome. And then some poets, of course, have got rankings where they've won certain slams, or maybe they've been on a team that's finished, in the top 4 of the Southeast region, or they just won the Southeast North Carolina Regional Poetry Slam. How can they include the competitions that they've already won in their application?
So they would be able to include their ranking in the description,
Okay,
and which I think would be the most efficient way.
right. And I
If they
know
don't, sorry.
there's an area where you can upload like a CV where you would list any awards. So then you would
Yes,
just have
yes,
all those awards listed there too.
yes. You could. So it's either, if it's not already on your resume or CV, then you could put it in the description,
Oh,
where
great.
which
Like
would
if
be.
you, like I know like some poets, maybe they're on button poetry, but that button poetry was filmed when they were like on stage at finals at the Southern Five Poetry Slam. So they could just list, this is my performance when I came in, third
Yes,
place.
perfect.
Great. Awesome. Yay. This is going to be so exciting. Now, one question is, in the past, people submitted via Submittable for the fellowships, but that is going to be different. It's moved over to the actual website of the Arts Commission.
Well, so now that's, no, it's a different platform. It's Found It.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you go to our website and
And
you
I can
put,
show us. So when we're here, we go to,
we scroll all the way down to the bottom, and it will talk about Philip's purpose, and it should have, if you, Kimberly, if you like scroll up,
oh,
um,
so how
how
to
to apply.
apply. And then right underneath
Found
this,
it. So right, no, right above it,
okay,
when it says how to apply,
got it.
that says found it, where it used to say.
Ah, got it. Oh,
So,
grant portal. So this
yeah,
is where you would create your account.
yes. But it's
Great.
important to note that that the agency has gone from submittable to found it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
they don't want to wait until the 15th to make their account. They should probably go ahead and make their portal account and then go ahead and start gathering materials before, that way they don't kind of get confused at the last minute. They want to go ahead and create their account and start getting their materials together.
Yes, I'll say that it's really easy to create an account. It's not like it's not this whole. It's not going to take you hours to create an account. It's like creating an account for a lot of other things. It's like general basic information, and
Right.
then your account. The other thing I will say is you can create your account and go in and start to put some things in and just save it as a draft. Do
Okay.
not, please do
Save
not,
that.
you know, fill all this out and then hit submit.
Right.
At that point, we cannot help you.
And I already opened one up just so I could show people. And, it has some things you have to check off. But at the very bottom of this, number one, it's got the place to put your work samples. But number two, when I work in the system from some of my other hats that I wear, you'll notice it does say save application. And so usually every time I complete a section, I hit that save application button.
Yes, that's great. That's great advice.
Because all it takes is a little flicker of the internet while you're on there, and you don't want to have to start over. So,
Yeah.
but I have used Found It for some other grants, and I think it is very user friendly. So I wouldn't think that people would have that much trouble. But I did notice that there is like a phone number and stuff. So if people get stuck, is there any resources where they can reach out to people to get help?
Yes, there absolutely. So the phone number, and probably there's an email there as well, is to our wonderful grants team.
Great.
And if you're having some technical difficulties, then that's the number that you're going to want to call. If for some reason anyone that is any artist in South Carolina that's thinking about applying and they want some additional information, or talk through some things
Right.
from from a programmatic side, they can,
Call or
they can reach
email.
out to me. But I will
Right.
say that, because it's a fellowship, it's under the grants category. This is not a project driven grant.
Right.
So
So
you can't go into it thinking, well, if I get this money, this is what I'm going to do, and I have to be able to articulate that in the
right.
grant.
Right. This is just money for the poets to live on so that they can work on their poetry during that 22-23 year,
I
basically.
would say it's not categorized as money to live on, because that's
Right.
not, we're not,
Right.
that's not
It's
what
an award. Like it's like winning.
it's a recognition award
Okay.
under the grants category, but it is what I would describe as most fellowships are, or a lot of fellowships are, is a recognition award. It's recognition for your, not only your commitment to your craft, but your
Hmm.
artistic achievements.
Right.
Why there's not this space for you to say, if I get this award, this is what I'm going to do, or this is what I want to do with
Right.
$8,500.
Right.
We have had, you know, over the years, not just here, but when I was in North Carolina and I was reviewing, fellowships there as a panelist with the North Carolina State Arts Council, you would have people that would get an award, and they might use it to go to another country, specifically if they're a writer, and they wanted to go and be somewhere else to write, or a
Right.
musician want to go to another country because they have an affinity with that particular
Hmm.
music. So someone else might use it to build a studio.
Right. But they just don't have to explain any of that in the grant application. It's kind of like if you were to go and win the National Poetry Slam and they gave you $4,000, you don't have to explain what you're planning to do with the 4,000. You just won that money.
Correct.
Okay, so it's just like that. Perfect. That's so exciting. I know the poets are like, this is really exciting. One question is so who actually decides, once y'all get all these applications, who actually decides, who picks out the person? Because there's going to be a lot of really strong applications because we got a lot of great spoken word poets here in the state.
So what all of our panelists and judges come from outside of the state,
Mm,
for obvious reasons, and so there's no, because none of the applications are anonymous now.
right,
Everybody sees everyone's name,
right.
uh, and so the panelists and the judges are made up of professionals in their respective disciplines or field.
Gotcha.
So I will have slam spoken word poets reviewing slam spoken word poets.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. And they're going to be using like some sort of point system or rubric, or they'll have certain criteria they're looking for.
Absolutely, there is a criteria that that they will be looking at. It's pretty straightforward. No, yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm sure all that is on the website. And then finally, and I think you've kind of already answered this, but if a poet becomes the South Carolina Arts Commission Spoken Word Fellow, do they have to do any specific duties or anything that year, or like you said, it's just an award?
No, they don't have any duties. Now, I will say that there are times here recently that I have called on fellows to ask if they would lead a workshop,
Hmm.
or alumni if they would lead a workshop, and that sort of thing, or attend something, with me. But
Right. And I know from the poetry category, I mean, just from someone who organizes poetry events, I know I tend to gravitate towards booking people that have just won a big award. So obviously, you would think that there would be a lot of organizations that would want to book them for featured readings
yes,
just because it would be so exciting.
yeah, that's definitely one of the benefits of being a South Carolina Arts Commission fellow, is that there's some prestige attached to that.
Right.
And so I think, yes, that's true. I want to go back when you were talking about, are there any obligations, just to clarify something. What I am focused on, if I reach out to an alumni to do a workshop, they are going to be compensated for that. That's something
Right.
that's really important in my
Yes.
role at the commission, is support for artists.
Hmm.
And I personally, as an artist too, I know what it's like to be on that side where people expect that you're going to do something for free
Right.
or exposure. And someone that I was working with was like, people die from exposure, and I said, that's true. People die from exposure, and not only not only that, but exposure doesn't pay, your bills. And
Right.
artists, like everyone else, have bills that they have to pay, families they have to support. You have to support themselves. I mean, it's all of those things. And artists are the only ones. It's the only profession that I know of that people would even dare to ask you to do something.
Right.
Like you wouldn't
It's
ask a doctor for a
right.
discount or
So nuts.
just change my oil for free this time because
Right.
it'll help your business. You would never
Right.
think of that. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great point. And so poets need to get everything in by November the 15th, 2021. So they've got just a little bit over a month. Um, and then they'll find out who the winner is next July. Is that right?
Correct. July 1st is when the fellows will be announced.
And
We
that's there's an award ceremony too, isn't there?
No, there's
Okay.
been an award ceremony for the fellows.
Okay, great, great. Awesome. Well, see, is there anything else? Let me look in our chat real quick and see if there are any questions that people have for us.
Okay.
And just I see a lot of comments just saying thank you, and the fact that someone was just underlining the fact that thank you for creating opportunities to help keep our artists in South Carolina, because we really need to hold on to them. And so I think that is just so amazing.
Yeah.
Anything final you want to speak to our poets tonight before we kind of say goodbye?
No, one thing I would want to make sure is maybe if we can drop in and I don't know if I can do this, if we can drop in the chat my contact information if people have any questions. Is
Yes.
that something I
Yes.
can do, or do you need to do?
I think that I may have to do it, and I definitely have your email. Let me just bring it up real quick, and we can drop that in there. Actually, if you would drop it in our chat, then I can drop it into the comments section. I think there's a little private chat. If you throw it in there, I can give it to everybody. And of course, too, feel free to reach out to me if anyone needs, any help with anything. I'm always happy to help poets. So definitely, many of you know me and work with me a lot. So definitely hit me up if you need help. And also, just want to give a shout out to Carolina Poets. We'll be back not this Thursday, but next Thursday. So definitely make sure that you check out Carolina Poets and our online shows there. And of course, Wits and Poetry, we're still doing our spoken word slams. We have one this Sunday, and we're at Coffee Underground Radio Room. So give a little shout out for, let me get this email address for everybody. And then, of course, too, you can also, can they contact through the Arts Commission's Facebook page? Does that make it to you, or
No.
they need an email?
That will go. Yeah. No.
Okay. So
never.
here is C's email address. So this is the best way if people have questions. And then I'm also going to drop this link to the actual application into the chat here so people can get a hold of that as well. But this has been so great. I am so excited that this is happening. I am so excited about it.
And I just want to say to all of the the spoken word artists and the slam poets, we appreciate you, and please apply.
Yes, yes, awesome. Okay, well, goodbye, everybody, and definitely just email C or contact me if y'all have questions. And we're looking forward. I know the Arts Commission is looking forward to getting all those great applications. So, thank y'all so much for your time.